welcome and thank you for being with us here at CSR Live. And so before I jump into the questions and the serious questions, I just want to know how your journey started. Like how did you exactly come into this field or this line? And did you think this like since you were like in school or something, or did it just come up?
Uh, okay, great question, Varun. Firstly, thank you for having me. Um, you know, corporate social responsibility. That sounds like such a heavy word when you tell someone. That's why your question is so important, because when I don't know, maybe second or third standard, I think we have it in our textbooks, right? Charity begins at home. So I think these are the sort of things that is imbibed in our culture. I believe that you help someone else before you help yourself, and um, uh, I think our families teach us sharing, and we always always offer food to others before we share. So I think this whole giving is sort of imbibed in the way we are all raised in society here. From a very early age, what has really impressed upon me and sort of also worried me has been the economic inequality that we've grown up with. And while I more foremost acknowledge all the privilege that I have grown up with, I was very conscious that um, it's privilege is uh, really selfish privilege if not put to good use. So started volunteering from a very young age. I think at the ages of 7 and 8, I was volunteering with a local dog and cat shelter, which was very close to where I grew up. And a bunch of us, there were a couple of older kids in our society where we grew up who would volunteer in an old age home, and we would tag along and put up little dance and song shows and little drama acts for the senior citizens there. So it started at a young age, and then it sort of also junior college and college with NCC. Did a lot of activities around if I grew up in Bombay, so if Bombay, where Khar, the fisher folk area is, there are a lot of activities there, especially in terms of sanitation, hygiene, menstrual sanitation, medical camps. So a lot of awareness. So I have been on and off doing it uh, on a personal level for a long time. I would like to say I also grew up in a very sociably conscious family. So again, privilege. So that really made a difference. And then how did it get formalized is here in Purvankara, when I first joined here. While I'm very proud to say that even before CSR became a mandate, or even before this term was actually coined, Purvankara has been very involved in the community. It is a 46-year-old company now. It's like one of the oldest real estate companies in India. So even before the activity was formalized, there was a lot of community building, a lot of good work that was happening. And while I came in, what I saw was an opportunity to be able to, give it to make it formal, to actually give it some purpose. Because as you know, most of community building will only happen when it's long term. So as a corporate, uh, over the past 8 years, what we have been doing is moving away from ad hoc or one-off helps, donations, charity drives, to actually a long-term sustainable CSR plan.
So that's great. And like before I go any further, that is a very good point you mentioned that this act of giving has been embedded in you since you were a child. So that is a very important point that you mentioned, and that's terrific. This brings me to my next question: is that can you explain a little about the company you're working in right now? Like Purvankara, you said is one of the oldest real estate firms in India. So how exactly it functions? How important CSR is in such a big corporate?
I don't, while, like I say, I find this word CSR so heavy. It makes it sound like there's pressure on the organization to do stuff. I like to think that, what we as corporates or individuals or citizens need to do is sustainable living, you know, what we need to do sustainable living. But let me tell you a little about Purvankara. So one of the things that the promoters of the company very strongly believe in is education. Okay, so this is something that they had scholarship programs. They have been helping people from marginalized communities over a very long time. Like when I came in, I met someone who had a scholarship from Purvankara like 30 years ago and went on to do their engineering and has come back and worked for the company. So I heard a lot of such stories. But like I said, see, real estate is a traditional organization. There is still a lot of corporatization that needs to happen. So while the concept of giving, the concept of volunteering, the concept of having a very sociable, conscious as a corporate has always been there, the long-term sustainability plans maybe have not been there. For example, most of the medians and some of the very larger parks in Bangalore CBD are maintained by Purvankara, and they have been maintained for a very, very long time. And it comes from, I think we were one of the first to do it in Bangalore, maybe more than 15, 17 years ago when the concept did not arise. But it came from the thought that, we understand we are a brownfield organization, we have responsibility. So we took that program now and, we've turned it into, we have worked with the metro here. And while new metro lines are coming up in Bangalore, we worked with the metro to ensure that we beautified the areas where the metro was passing where we were. So what Purvankara tries to do is sort of build communities where they exist. A building is not a building is not like a pen, right? You will throw a pen away, but a building, a home where you stay is going to last forever and ever. So the idea is to build a community where we exist. So we always try and do sustainable activities, sustainable long-term programs in communities where we exist. For example, one of our projects is very close to a government girls' school. We ensured that they had clean water to drink. We did some activities around toilet building. So the underlying fact is build a community, sustain it, because the people there are going to live there forever.
So basically, you're making sure that people have good memories where they stay also, because that's going to stay forever, as you said.
Absolutely.
When a person buys a home, they attach a lot of their emotions to that place. That's correct. So, as we all know, 2020 has been a very, very, let's just go with different kind of a year for everyone, especially for corporates, in terms of social fronts. So, how exactly was 2020 for Purvankara? Like, were there any specific COVID related projects, and what were the challenges that you faced during the 2020, the whole year? Were there like different kind of challenges, or was it the same like how it used to be?
I mean, nothing was same about 2020. I don't think anything was same for any of us. Uh, if we all remember last March when we started hearing about these things, nobody really knew, right? We were all shooting in the dark. No one had any clue what the pandemic was about, what it's going to bring. Are we going to be seeing zombies walking around us? It was all a riddle. So what we did as a corporate, and I think it's something that when was suggested by the CSR team, the board very quickly accepted it, was we said we will try and procure testing kits for the state. Okay, because there was a lot of talk that time that we might run out of testing kits, they're not enough. As you would recall, that was the main buzz around that time. So so while the state has the capacity to procure the testing kits, what we went the extra length, Varun. We actually decided that let the state have time, let them have bandwidth to actually do ops. So we did end-to-end procurement of testing kits. We actually reached out to my labs in Pune, and through an NGO that was working with them, and we ensured that the testing kits were actually put on a flight and brought directly to Bangalore. And then we went and gave it to the Chief Minister of Karnataka. So and we did this on the 3rd or 4th of April. So we were really proactive, and we anticipated ahead of time that there was going to be need. What feedback we got then was really poignant, because I mean, while a lot of people, a lot of corporates, a lot of individuals donated to the CM Relief Fund and so on and so forth, the fact that we actually gave them time and rather, not just money. So that, I think the feedback we got was that was really appreciated. And of course, as you know, real estate being a labor intensive labor intensive sector, and you had all these really awful imagery coming out of the migrant workers. And uh, what we did at our labor camps was extraordinary. We ensured that they had khana pina. The place was sanitized 3 times a day. We had health checkups every 5 days. In fact, I remember when the police commissioner of Bangalore was doing his, checks across these various camps where migrants, he actually gave us like a, thumbs up. He was like, "This is the best, best setup that I have seen." We even had them, have meditation and yoga classes so that, they would not have anxiety. So we did realize that being so far away from family during a pandemic would impact them. So this is the way we tried to do something different. It was new for all of us. We also learned. Varun, to answer your question, what changed for us? One big change was we had a long-term running program called Khel Khel Mein, which Purvankara did in conjunction with Wokhard, if you know. Yeah. So Khel Khel Mein was a program that was doing early childhood intervention. So think of it as an Anganwadi that ran between 4 and 7. So the concept was, Wokhard did some study. They realized that there are a lot of kids who did not go to school, um, or dropped out, and they were getting into petty crime, rat picking, just because there was no one to look after them after they came back from school. So we had this very successful running program in Bangalore. We had identified 2 or 3 large communities that needed this sort of intervention. But of course, unfortunately, the big change for us because of COVID and social distancing, so on and so forth, we had to pause this program. As of this point of time, we are waiting for an opportunity for when we can resume again, because we did make a difference in the kids' lives. And in the years that we ran it, there was a huge drop in school people dropping out of school. So hopefully, fingers crossed, once everything gets back to normal, we'll like to get back to that program.
That sounds great. And as you rightly said, while you were telling me about this, all I could think is that it shows that the company and you are really involved in the whole process, because a lot of corporates or a lot of you know let's just say corporations do CSR for the name of it. So it's very important to be involved in it. That's great. So your background, Minol, is in marketing, right?
Not marketing, business management. Yes.
Business management. So what I want to know exactly, because you have been in the field for so long, do you think how important exactly is CSR for corporates? Like, how important is it from the business point of view as well?
Okay. It is extremely important from a business point of view. If we were just to look at, see, at the end of the day, in any business, doesn't matter which sector, the sales is your profit center, right? The rest of us, all of us, are cost centers. Um, so what do you view CSR as? You can't peg sustainable social living as a profit or a cost center, right? So what do you peg it as? You peg it as, what does any organization want at the end of the day? They want to leave a legacy behind, right? They want to be remembered. They want to be spoken about, not just for the great products they made, but also for the stories, the legacy. And other than CSR, I also had communications. So for me, if I'm telling a story about the organization, this is what plays a very important part, that social development is in the DNA. That directly impacts your brand reputation. It directly shows how involved the corporate is, not just with the community and society, also with nation building. All these things fall in together. So in fact, as you are aware, young people your age now, even when they're seeking employment or going to work in organization, they're actually looking at the carbon footprint of the organization. They're sort of looking into the whether this is a good organization. I mean, this a lot of social activity, especially abroad, has made organizations change their tune. So if you ask me, I think this has to be as seamless as people, um, social development, the feeling of wanting to grow with the community is one of the most important things you can do in terms of legacy and brand reputation.
Perfect. So that just, I'm directly just gonna go into my next question because it's connected. That
Mm-hmm.
how exactly do you think a company's societal standards, like
Mm,
society in the like company's name or image in the society, is
mm,
affecting its marketplace in these days? Because as you correctly said, a lot of people are really concerned about how exactly is the corporate functioning in the society, or how much is it giving back to the society. So do you really think it is affecting its market position as well?
absolutely, absolutely. You will. It. I would be really surprised to hear that that there exists an organization that has absolutely no footprints in the sustainability and the social development sectors, but is doing really well or has really high repute in the minds of people. I would be really, really surprised to hear that. Um, for example, let me think. Even the smallest thing, Varun, you as an individual, even the smallest thing that you buy now, what's the first thing you do? You jump online and Google it, right?
Correct.
You're going to check for reviews.
True.
That's life. That's life. And if you are going to see something like XYZ company dumped debris in the middle of the road, it's going to deter you from buying that product as a consumer. It is so. eh, these factors are going to play a long term effect on marketability and of a product, any product. It does not matter. It does not matter. It could be a book. Say you wanted to buy a book and you learned that there was a publishing house that was printing the books on recycled paper or pieces of recycled plastic from the ocean. Um, it may prompt you to buy a book from that publishing house versus the other. So, I mean, I could go on and on with the examples because, I keep repeating this to several people that this is the future. This is the future. Your brand
As you,
reputation is linked to this. Sorry,
as you
I
correctly,
get very carried away with this. I
no,
can
no,
talk
it's
about this for a
absolutely
long
correct,
time.
and like really optimistic and happy to see that people like you are so involved in this whole thing, because it's actually true that now's generation is focusing on these things more and more than the previous generation used to.
Absolutely.
They are actually paying attention to how much a corporate is giving back to the society and how much it is actually maintaining its image in the society, rather than just seeing the product or like the name of the corporation or something like that.
True.
That's a
True.
very positive sign we are getting, and let's all be just very optimistic for the future that our coming generation gets more and more involved in this whole thing.
Varun, but just to interject you there, I do want to give credit to, our parents and our grandparents. Like, I think India is one of the most green households. Think of it, right? Bachpan mein we would get the doodh ka theli, right? The doodh ka theli would be washed and it would be dried and it would be used to, like, store atta.
Absolutely, we in Indian household recycle anything,
Ev-
everything as much as it possible. Like we do. Let's just, if I can just take a very very small example,
Please do.
that even when we don't throw old t-shirts, if you remember, right? We
Oh,
use them as
never.
cleaning clothes. So it's like we use them to their maximum capacity till we cannot just like
Absolutely.
it just gives up. The cloth is like, I cannot do this anymore.
It's
Till that time, yeah, we're
the
gonna just
Indian life cycle of a t-shirt, first t-shirt, then gym shirt, then night shirt, then
absolutely,
dusting, and then pocha. And then
yeah,
when
true, true,
it's
true,
in shreds before we
absolutely.
get rid of it.
And
So
I think it's embedded in us since childhood that we do not take things for granted, and that's a very good
absolutely,
thing. We do not throw things away. We do not take things for
absolutely.
granted. We know what it values, like what it values are. Anyway, so that's perfect. That's great. So let's just talk about something that I've been thinking about, since we started the interview. 40 under 40. That's a great achievement, and I want to know the journey behind it. Like what changed after it, or how much work did go into achieving that spot? It's a big thing.
what changed after it was, a lot of people know my age now, so thanks for that, Varun. That really helps.
So is this
Uh,
40 under 40, right? So it can be anything under 40.
I'm still waving the millennial flag, but anyways, Varun, thank you for acknowledging that, and also thank you for the people who recognized it. It's not something that I thought of or applied for, so on and so forth. I think that came from my communications background, but like I said, communications and CSR go hand in hand. What changed after that is just added pressure, right? The reward of good work is more work. So for me, what has changed is just the uh, fact that now I have younger people looking out on what I do. If I may give you a small example here.
Sure.
There is a scholarship program that we run called Vidya Sarthi, in conjunction with NSDL and Tata Institute of Social Science in Bombay. And we try to do it in the communities, like I said, where we exist, and we're trying to do it in tier 2 cities. So we're doing it in Goa, and we're doing it in Pune. And I was lucky enough to meet a bunch of them who got the scholarships last year. And I had most of the kids ask me, "Oh, 40 under 40, ma'am, what should we do to grow up and be like you?" And I said, first of all, don't be like, you be your own self. But um, I told them something. I think the for me, 40 under 40 just means that I need to keep myself in constant check, because there may be people who are aspiring to achieve similar things. It For me, it means that I need to remind myself that kindness and empathy is not something that I can forget in my professional journey. It is something that I need to imbibe more and more, because without these two, I think the foundation of the new world, in a post pandemic era, will get harder. And what it means to me is just to be true to myself, just go with what I believe, do it passionately, talk about it hard, and also um, constantly maybe bring a I just want to seed a thought in people's mind. It's I think sometimes we forget the power of a thought. If I can say something that makes one person think about something and change their action, for me that would be a great thing. So for
I think
you
it
know,
all starts with that one thought. I think
absolutely
every big thing starts with that one thought. And as our beloved hero from our childhood has taught us that with great power comes great
response.
responsibility. So I think you are an inspiration to people now. So people
Oh,
look up to you. So that's a
thank you.
very, very good thing. So, are there any ongoing projects of Purvankara that are like recently going on? Or I just want to know what has been the most challenging project for you, like till date? And let's just leave 2020
Mm.
like on the side, because I think everything was challenging during that time. In general, which project has been the most challenging to carry out? Are
Okay,
there so
I think
many or
no, I'm trying to think, because when these things happen, I tend to focus more on the joy, that happens and I forget the challenges. But I do think that this program Khel Khel Mein, that we had run, because we were venturing into territory that was unknown to us completely. It was also a pile. I mean, while Wockhardt runs this program very successfully across Maharashtra, it was their first time in Karnataka also. So we had all that, in the background. I think the most challenging it was that, because what we were trying to do is not take away from the existing school structure. What we were doing is trying to get the same teachers who were in the school to come here. Of course, there was remuneration and everything, so that there is a seamless bridge for children, right? They go to school in the morning, they meet their teacher, and in the afternoon, when their parents are still at work, they still have that same consistency. So that is the thought in mind. But I think the biggest challenge there was to convince the parents that it's a good thing. We, so it took us a few months actually, but none of us gave up, and I have to commend all my colleagues here in Puravankara, because I used it as a volunteering program also. I got everyone in the office to say that I told them that we have to get this done, and we had people. Most of my colleagues went across, started talking to people, educating them, telling them why this is good. So while it was challenging, and also a little. There were anxiety ridden moments, no kids will be there, it will just be an empty room. It took us 4 months from the day we started. First it was the teachers who were teaching. We told them, you should bring your children first. That sets an example. Then we had someone from office would be there every day to show that we are committed. From 2 to 4 to we went to 40, and then within 6 months we had to go to a bigger premise. So I think it ended well.
I think that's
It
a great
ended well, but
way
that
to
was
start.
most challenging because um, I understand parents' anxiety. Na, it's completely normal. So,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
all's well that ends well.
Yeah, that's a great result. If you had to shift to a bigger premise, I think that's the best thing you can hope for.
We got two. It got so popular. We had two venues in the same locality.
Congratulations then. What? So before I wrap things up, what exactly are the future plans for Puravankara, and what projects are we going to see in the future? Like 5-year, 10-year plan, anything that you guys have like thought of?
So as a company, education, environment, and health have always sort of more or less been a focus. So we will concentrate on these things. We will continue with our scholarship programs of Vidya Sarthi. We will take it across cities because, as we are all aware in the field, doing something once or twice really doesn't make an impact. You have to do it over and over again for a decade before we start making some inroads in the community. So we are committed to that. uh, I don't know if you're aware, but as a real estate company, when we get approvals, okay, we also make commitment to the government in terms of, okay, if we are going to build so many square feet, we are going to offset it by doing X, Y, Z. So sustainability, tree plantation, lakes, these will all be in our purview. Like I said, we have always been conscious of impacting the community we exist in. So we will ensure that we minimize the impact there. And I had some plans in terms of doing things for menstrual health. I mean, this is, I think, maybe also a personal thing, and also one of our directors, Amanda Puravankara, feels strongly about it. We still are in the process of planning that out and seeing how we can do it as a long-term thing rather than a one-off donation drive. So yeah, I'll keep you posted, Varun.
That's absolutely great. You can keep us posted and our audiences. So is there anything you wanna tell our audience before we wrap the whole interview? Is there any message you wanna give to the whole audience who's watching us right now?
um, okay. So couple of things. If there's somebody out here who is looking to make a career in CSR, I would urge you to read a lot. I would urge you to do your research. Please understand where the rules and regulations that are laid out by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs come into play. It's very important. If the people are not looking to make a career in CSR, but are just people, you do not have to be a CSR professional to be making an impact to the organization or to the community. So the only thing I'm going to be the change you want to see in, in the world. So if you are feeling strongly about something, go out and try it. Do it once. um, Maybe the garbage is annoying you up the street. See if you can talk to your local community, make a Sunday out of it, clean it up. Each one do whatever they can whenever they can. It will all make a difference.
I think what you were trying to say, and what we also try to put forward as a message, is that try to take that step. Do not hesitate if you think that it's you can do something, and don't just sit back and think, what, just me going out and doing something is not going to make a
True.
change, because that's how big things start. One person
Absolutely.
starts it and then people join in. So just go out, make a change, try to make a change. And if we can even inspire one, as you correctly said, even one thought process or one person, I think that's the best thing I could hope for possibly, and the whole team of CSR Live here. So thank you so much, Minol, for joining us here today. And it was great interacting with you, and I hope we see you again in the future very, very soon.
Absolutely, Varun. Thank you again, and thank you to your whole team for having me. And yeah, let's do this again. It was really good chatting with you.